And welcome back. I'm your host, Susanna May O'Hagan, and today we are going to be talking about Jack the Ripper. And I'm saying it like this because we think we know who he might be finally. We have maybe a confirmation on who the Jack the Ripper is. After 130, 40 years, I'm not really sure because there's a little different articles. Jack the Ripper's identity revealed after 130 years thanks to DNA testing. We might finally know the identity of the notorious killer Jack the Ripper, and we might even have a DNA result for reference over 130 years after his gruesome murders in East London, England. The descendants of his victims are looking to unmask the identity of this serial killer properly. The infamous serial killer who terrorized Victorian England, London, women back in the day, has primarily been referred to as simply Jack the Ripper until now. Historian Russell Edward claims that he has identified Jack the Ripper as Aaron Kosminski, one of the prime suspects of Jack the Ripper, through a DNA test done on a shawl possibly belonging to one of his victims from over a century ago. Edward explains that he purchased the shawl back in 2007 after it was marketed to be at the scene of the murder of Catherine Edwards on Today's Show Australia. Surprisingly, the DNA found on a shawl found at the crime scene of one of Jack the Ripper's victims, Katerina Edwards. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Katerina. Matching DNA sample provided by one of the Kosminski living relatives according to findings published in the Journal of Forensic Science in 2019. It's very difficult to put in words the elevation I felt when I saw the 100% DNA match, Edward told The Sun in an interview published on January 30th, and adds, this brings closure and a form of justice for the descendants. Edward and some of his victim descendants are now asking Britain's High Court to officially name Kay as the killer. Great-great-great-granddaughter of Jack the Ripper victim states having the real person legally named would be a form of justice. One of Edward's biological descendants, Karen Miller, is waiting for further investigation to make the findings official. Speaking to Daily Mail, she outlines the name Jack the Ripper has been pencilized. It has gone down in history as this famous character. It has all been about him, his iconic name, but people have forgotten about the victims who did not have justice at the time. What about the real name of the person who did this? Having the real person. What is going on? Something's wrong. I don't know what just happened. What about the real name of the person who did this? Having a real legal name in a court which can consider all the evidence would be a form of justice for the victims. We have got the proof. Now we need this inquest to legally name the killer. Miller, the great-great-granddaughter of Katerina, explains. Now the eyes are on the High Court's decision to make Miller the official. Scientists have doubts about the study results and need genetics specimen to be sure. As tangible as it sounds, some experts still have questions about the validity of the results. Walther Persons, a forensic scientist from the Innsbruck Media University in Austria, criticized the study of not including actual genetic substance of the involved parties, which were instead represented by a graphic in the report, causing doubts about the reality of the result. Persons told Science.org in 2009 after the journalist was published, otherwise the readers cannot judge the results. Following Edwards' initial DNA test in 2019, molecular biology Walther Parson and DNA researcher H. of the Innsbruck Media University expresses doubt over the Shaw's authenticity and the methods of its genetic testing. They argue that genetic square from EDDOWES and KOSMINSKIS living relatives were not included in the testing, in addition to questions whether the Shaw may have been contaminated due to the way it was stored. Kay's brother's great-great-granddaughter has since provided a genetic sample for testing. Prime Jack the Ripper suspect Aaron was a barber surgeon in London. Barber surgeon? Okay. Wasn't sure if I read that right, but I did. That is really weird. Who was Aaron? KOSMNSKI. He was a Jewish Polish immigrant who came to Whitechapel, England back in 1881. With his brother, he became a barber once he made it to London. He was 23 at the time of the murders and was a prime suspect in the Five, which took place in 1888, but was never actually charged in the case. He then spent his life in an asylum where he was kept for his diagnosed schizophrenia until his death. Jack the Ripper's most notable victims include Marie Ann Nicholas, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Katerina Edwards, and Mary Jane Kelly in 1888, who were brutally murdered in the Whitechapel area. These women are called CANONICA5 by Jack the Ripper's researchers, the reason being they are most likely murdered by a single killer. According to the Express, the killer needed to have automatic knowledge in order to commit the murders. Concludedly, an intake from the asylum where Kay died in 1919 described him as a barber surgeon, hitting at the anatomic knowledge needed for the gruesome nature of the Ripper's murders, which involved his victims and mercilessly removed their Despite his notorious story, the police were never able to capture him, and his study remained locked away in the pages of history. Some people say better late than never. No way it took them 137 years to find him. Finally, the victims' families can be closure. You expect us to believe that a Shaw stayed in prison condition during the chain of custody for over 100 years? As a barber, he would have a skill with a razor. This is why, before any death penalty is carried out, there needs to be post-convicted DNA done. There are only a handful of states that do post-convictions DNA, and all 50 states need to do them. Turns out that he was a barber. People thought Jack the Ripper was a surgeon or a butcher because of the way the murders were particularly gruesome, involving deep slashes, and in some cases, removal. Should sue his entire family line. I don't know about that. These are some comments I'm reading. Whoa, this is actually insane. After all this time, we finally found who it really is. Crazy he's never been arrested. I wish he was still alive to face the consequences. 2025 is the most mind-boggling year. This is amazing, similar to the feeling when they finally located the Titanic. Don't mean nothing now. Why did it take so long? TBH, I don't think we should give up on finding out the true identity of Jack the Ripper. Like, say he was a baby in 1988, that would mean he would still only be 137 years old right now. We could still get him. We got the identity of Jack the Ripper before GTA 6. So, people are divided on, is this really the guy? Oh, I don't know. Jack the Ripper, who claimed to have identified the serial killer with 100% DNA match, seeks closure. Oh, I'm just so curious. Question is, do we want to do a part 2? Because this is a lot of information, y'all. A lot. Let me know what you think. Do you think we finally caught the guy? Or do you think there's something to this story that isn't there before? Let me know.